Professor Pod here again, and here we are ready to go dipping in the pond. I brought someone to help me, a net. That's terrible. But I brought two forms of dip nets. This small handheld one is one we use in our day camp. I will try to use this type of net first, and I'll show you what I'll do with this. The other is called a D net. As you see, it's shaped like the letter D. And it's also used in streams in situations where you can scoop along the bottom. See, the flat part of the net would go along the bottom of the pond or stream to collect the invertebrates for sampling. So if I can't seem to get much with this smaller net, I'll use this to reach out further, this dip D net, and I'll use this small dip net initially. So first I'm going to go to the open part of the water out here. The green plant growing on the surface, you might have seen a post a while back on our Facebook page. It's duckweed. Duckweed's the smallest flowering plant, but you should look it up. I think it's still on the Facebook page. It's got a pair of leaves and a very tiny, tiny flower. It's a very important plant ecologically because it helps clean up polluted areas. They're using duckweed to clean up ponds and waterways, somewhat still waterways, to absorb the toxins in the water. So, duckweed's an important forage for ducks, obviously, and other vertebrates and invertebrates. And it also becomes a home, a hiding place. I saw some frogs jump in. Oh, there's one here, little guy. This is the frog, green frog. I asked him the other day how deep this was, and he said, knee deep, knee deep. Of course, you know what that means. So, that's a green frog. He's pretending to blend in. So let me walk out. It's kind of slushy and mucky. This frog, I don't want to disturb. Oh, we're going in. The green frog. Perfect habitat for frogs, turtles. Sometimes across the way we see painted turtles on the log. This is probably the limit. So I'll try this net. What we do with this is, oh, there's a water strider on the surface of the water. A couple of them hopping along. On top, they can't really skate across because there's so much duckweed, but they're still doing their best to get their prey. Some water striders. Interestingly, I didn't mention before, this guy's poking up. I didn't mention before, those insects, the water strider, the water boatman, the back swimmer, and of course the whirligig, but they all can fly. This pond is very low. That's why I'm having some difficulty finding open water. Due to this summer, it's very dry, and the early fall is very dry. These insects can fly. If their pond dries up completely, they will fly and find another source to live in, water. So they're not hopelessly stuck in a pond that is drying up. So the idea of this net is to scoop down. Oh, I can get pretty good here and get some leaves and such. And then what I do is I pull them up to the bank. Ah, I love that smell. Yes, the pond scum smell. Even though it smells of methane and I'm stuck. It's quicksand. Hydrogen sulfide. This means there's, wow, this is crazy. This is really great decomposition. So I will plop it on this whiteboard and see what actually is living in the muck. And if we find anything, I'll try to put it in our container. I just used a roasting pan because it's got a nice reflective bottom. Get a nearby stick and we'll sort through. You can see the duckweed, how small it is. You basically wait for something to wriggle out of the leaves or the muck. So we're basically sampling the pond bottom and these leaves and anything that happens to be swimming in the vicinity. It might take a few tries to get something, but we'll just see. I might get down on my knees to get a closer look because the things are very small, like those clams I mentioned are tiny. I can go through with my fingers. Of course, I'll wash them before I have dinner. It makes me think of food when I do this. I get really... Let's see. You can see all the leaves are decomposing slowly. We kind of wait for the water life, the aquatic insects, and their larvae or nymphs to start drying up a bit and squirming out of these leaves to see if we can find anything. And of course, if we had looked under this water under a microscope, we would see it teeming with microscopic life. The small water fleas, rotifers, the Daphnia, which are the water fleas. I don't see much in this first dip. Well, what I'll do is I'll push this aside for now. And it's important to remember to put this back, because if things you missed are still in here, we don't want them to dry out. So we'll just push this to the side, and I'll go back in and get some more. We'll keep doing this and see what we can find. All right. I'll still use this small net, and I might switch to the longer net. Maybe I'll walk over this way more and see if I can... Right there, I was sinking up to my kneecaps almost in the muck. Oh, I'm going. So, I can try to get a water strider. I'll do that later and put it in there to show you up close. There's the frog. Let me just dig down really in here. Let's see what... You should get at least some snails. Like I said, this is a common camp activity, and sometimes we come up without much. This has been quite a strange season. Some of the insect life might have moved to deeper water. Let's see. Well, that's a good haul. Oh, we see something. Oh, a couple things. Of course, I'm trying not to injure them. There's a northern mud minnow, and we see a tadpole. Wonderful. I forgot to mention, we saw the frogs. And of course, with frogs come tadpoles. There probably is a green frog tadpole. The bullfrog, a relative of the green frog, takes 2 to 3 years to mature. So the green frog, I believe, would overwinter. And this stage is obviously September already. And would probably not metamorphose this late and come out of the water. Let's see, this is just... So there we had some good... See how they realized they were on land, and they just started hopping about frantically. So that's how we see these. The other way to do it is to put everything in the water and see what swims out. But then we'd have to change the water quite frequently. It would get quite muddy. It'd be difficult to see in. What do we have here? Ah! I'm just kidding. I had you going, didn't I? There's another tadpole. Okay, let's see. Probably just be very careful with that guy. There we go. And like I said, we'll return all this life. We're a nature center, a nature preserve. We don't want to injure them. I'm trying not to hold them too long, injure their skin. They absorb a lot of oxygen through their skin. They have gills. Now we've got the northern mud minnow. Can get a little larger than that. And they're a great predator of mosquito larvae. So far, that's all I see. Well, let's shove this aside. And if we leave it here on the board, we can come back with other scoops, and something might be swimming to the surface. So we'll just do this. Then go get a little bit more, keep sampling until we find something different. So far, it's not bad. I'll go back over here and be right back with another scoop. I'm going to try to reach out further. Clear this duckweed off. This I stirred up the surface a bit. Didn't go as deep. See if that makes a difference. See what we can pull out. We have a milfoil water plant. I'll throw that in there too, so they have something to hide under. We have to be careful too. If we do find various predator insects, we don't want to leave them in too long with other things like the tadpoles. They would eat them. Okay, we have a small, probably a damselfly nymph, and I will bring that over to the, it'll start walking. Walk, would you? He doesn't listen to me. So I'll put him in that tin container. I'm going to try to be very careful. I probably should have brought some kind of a device. I'm careful to not injure him. Okay. And that is, they have a, they breathe with a special tube on their posterior end, and sticks it above the water surface if they need to breathe. They don't need to come up for air too often. So here, let's keep going. We might find another one. That's a very small one. It was probably hatched recently. It's probably the first instar, meaning the first molt. Let's see. I'm surprised, if not shocked. No, I'd say surprised. Shocked is too severe. I'm surprised we haven't seen any mollusks yet, any snails. Okay. Well, that was good. We've got some good luck so far. Oh, there's another mud minnow. I wonder why they call them mud minnows. Oh, there we go. Hey, the mud minnow. Of course, being a fish, this pond is so still. You would think it's got very little oxygen. The only way oxygen can enter the water is obviously through the plants or through rain. So it probably points to the fact that something like a mud minnow can survive in low oxygenated waters. We don't see trout in here, for instance, or other fish that need more air to breathe underwater, dissolved oxygen. Well, that's a good run. Let's try a couple more, and then we'll put this back. In the background, it's hard to hear, but I heard a spring peeper. Of course, they would breed in this pond in the spring. They're calling now. They're getting ready to go dormant. They're calling. They're dispersed in the woods already. Okay, let's see. Let's try. I'll go a little bit further this way and have one or two more scoops, and we'll call it a day. And I'll try to grab a water strider to put in that container. They're a little tricky, aren't they? Come back. I might have got one. Let's see if I grabbed one. Oh boy, yes I did. It jumped right in. Right there. You can see how it's depressing the surface of the water. They skate on the surface tension. Water has that property. They have very, very, very fine hairs on the bottoms of their feet to help spread their weight out. And of course, you see their legs on such a formation as to spread their weight out too. But these little micro hairs help them stay on the surface of the water. He's trying to crawl out because he knows this isn't his home. Oh, nice. And the tadpole is foraging along the edge. Does that have hind legs already? It might. It's hard to see. So they'll overwinter and probably later next year in the summer come out as a little green frog. All right, I'll do another scoop here and see what we can find. And then I'll probably start walking further out and see how far I can get out there to get the best out in the middle of this pond. It's quite mucky. These frogs are not too deterred by my activities here. Let's get one more nice big scoop and see what we have. Oh dear, I'm fine. Here I come. Professor Pod. I don't see anything else emerging from our old scoop piles, but you never know. Here we go. Ready, plop. Okay, this is... We have to find at least one mollusk. I would be surprised. Seasonal differences too. We are later, obviously we're early fall. This is a very summery day. The water temperature has gone down. We've had several nights of frost. So some of the insects that we see have already gone dormant. Some overwinter in the egg stage. As you saw, that damselfly nymph will overwinter in that form. This pond probably freezes pretty much solid, so they'll bury themselves down in the muck to be protected. A lot of insects have an antifreeze in their hemolymph, which is their blood, to keep them from freezing solid. So the frogs would be burrowing, and there's a frog called the wood frog who would probably use this pond also to go dormant in. This frog, unlike others, can freeze almost completely solid. The wood frog. What is this? Is this a mollusk? It's a seed. Oh my, oh my. Well, I would say all in all, we did pretty good for this time of year. There'll definitely be more installments of this next spring when things start waking up. I think what I'm going to do now is take this other net and go way out in the pond. All right? And then I'll come back and see what we have. See you. Whoa!